We can elaborate on the Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff stuff, that they're being blackmailed and threatened.
Yes, and that's all I can say about that because I don't want the specifics to get narrowed down to the type of people that I'm working with. Like I said, if it ends up coming out, aside...
I don't know anyone called Big Homie. Tupa, I don't know who Tupa is. Is he a rapper or something? I'm sorry, I've just got no idea what that's about. I have no leads on that at all. You'll have to be...
All right, we're here. Let me know if you could hear me in the chat. Hopefully this one will actually be a quick one. We got Clip by Crayons here. Hell yeah, Red, let's go. Hell yeah. Noise, our lovely mod. Good morning, UFO. Keeping everyone entertained early in the mornings there. Drew, Yee, hell yeah. Earth Files, good evening from the UK. Thank you. Jammin' Music Man, what's up, RBK? What's up? Earth Files, loud and clear. Hell yes. Hopefully maybe this one will actually be quick. We'll see. But you know me, always adding context and bullshit. So we'll see. So it all started with Luna today, right? We got this hearing coming up in a few days. And let's just see what she's been saying.
That he was actually, felt in fear of his life, and some things, weird things had happened prior to that first hearing. And then I would encourage all of you to actually reach out to him, because even just yesterday, I actually went into the SCIF with David Grusch and Eric Burleson. And prior to that SCIF meeting happening, there was something really bizarre that took place with David Grusch, and it's being handled at the law enforcement level. But, things like that happening are not normal, especially being that David Grusch is currently Eric Burleson's congressional staffer. And so you're seeing a lot of stuff now flush out. And what I can tell you is we are trying to actively push to release the information.
Okay, let's just run that back again real quick, because this is the big news of the day. Something happened literally yesterday with Grusch now. Sounds like we're hearing a lot about stuff happening to Grusch. We're going to parse it.
He was actually, felt in fear of his life, and some things, weird things had happened prior to that first hearing. And then I would encourage all of you to actually reach out to him, because even just yesterday, I actually went into the SCIF with David Grusch and Eric Burleson. And prior to that SCIF meeting happening, there was something really bizarre that took place with David Grusch, and it's being handled at the law enforcement.
Prior to the SCIF meeting yesterday, something really bizarre happened with David Grusch, and it included law enforcement. Anyone in the chat have any guesses on what this is about? It's weird.
Level, but things like that happening are not normal, especially being that David Grusch is currently Eric Burleson's congressional staffer. And so you're seeing a lot of stuff now flush out. And what I can tell you is we are trying to actively push to release the information that we've seen to the American people. And so, again, you have this aspect of this disinformation campaign that's taking place, trying to discredit it. And I frankly don't care at this point, because what I can tell you is the people that are genuinely interested in the actual science of this, the people like Dr. Avi Loeb, who actually can provide the data to back this stuff up, those people know the truth. And so we're not necessarily doing this for the people.
She was about to say the people on X. I felt like that was a little soft nod to Green Street, who she's been beefing with. UFONet says, death threats or just prank phone calls? Clip by Crayon says, gotta be threats. Let's see. There's some other interesting.
And so far, David Grusch.
I found this was interesting, right? I mean, it's not that it's like the Lou show, but like a lot of times when this weird shit's happening, like Lou's kind of involved, maybe not, we'll see. But let's see.
It's been someone that I've actually, and it's really bizarre to see the attacks that come into some of our witnesses, especially after we announce them. But so far, he's been able to not just help point us in the right direction as far as being able to turn over the correct rocks, and then also flush out who both the good and bad actors are. But, I was also in the military, and when I'm interacting.
So that's the key point there. Flush out who the good and bad actors are. Now, let's remember, I don't have it pulled up, but if you remember our friend Manny, Area 503, right? He made a documentary about Lou. Somebody showed up to his mom's house, right? Super creepy. A bunch of weirdo shit happened to him and his girlfriend. I posted a clip of Richard Doughty saying Lou Elizondo offered him a job at Space Force. The chain of events literally leads to me and my little sister having to be armed because psychos are like threatening to come murder me. Credible threats. People that could drive around the country. Now, let's hear this again. Maybe it's all connected, maybe it's not. But
so far, he's been able to not just help point us in the right direction as far as being able to turn over the correct rocks, and then also flush out who both the good and bad actors are. But, I was also in the military, and when I'm interacting.
All right, so Flesh out who the good and bad actors are. What else have we learned recently? We learned that, and maybe I should pull this up. I'll pull this one up. Yeah, why not? We learned that Grusch, per Lou Elizondo's lawyer, Grusch is apparently threatening to subpoena Lou. So I'm just saying, I'm not full on accusing Lou of being behind it, but let's just look at the pattern of evidence, right? Manny makes a documentary about him, a bunch of shit happens to him. I post a clip about him, a bunch of weird shit happens. What do you think is going to happen to the motherfucker subpoenaing Lou Elizondo? And that's just going to be a clean little thing? Like, again, the person who made a documentary about him, someone shows up to their mom's house. You think the person subpoenaing him isn't going to be, have anything done to them? You think, let's see. Here's this one. This is Ivan Hanel a few weeks ago.
With UAPDF to coerce me into threatening my own client to say whatever it is he wanted to say in a SCIF that he couldn't even get into. I told those fools I would never betray my professional duties of loyalty and was disgusted by their creepy threats, which included a threat of subpoena. Subpoena for one, subpoena for all. Preserve all your private texts and email and call logs, please. I'm done playing nice. In the week before the April 29th, 2025 SCIF briefing, I received a signal call from Dylan Guthrie, acting attorney for the UAP Disclosure Fund, and Jordan Flowers, UAPDF's executive director. They said that David Grusch had been in ongoing contact with UAPDF's founder and then executive director, Yuan Feng, and that Mr. Flowers himself had spoken directly with Mr. Grusch. They told me that Mr. Grusch had communicated that Lou Elizondo better give up the red meat in the SCIF, which I understood as a demand for classified.
Pause. We got to get better, Grusch. If you're watching, we got to get better. Verbiage. Give up the red meat.
Information. I told them I had no idea what the red meat was because I have never asked Mr. Elizondo for classified material, nor has he shared any with me to my knowledge. I further made clear that I would never in a million years encourage Mr. Elizondo to disclose classified information he is not authorized to share. Mr. Elizondo can only disclose what has been approved by the executive branch. Mr. Guthrie and Mr. Flowers became upset at my refusal to influence Mr. Elizondo. They threatened that Mr. Grusch could cause a subpoena to be issued. I responded that subpoenas are no threat, that Mr. Elizondo is a volunteer witness, and that it makes no sense to try to compel him. I told them never to direct me on behalf of Mr. Grusch or anyone else about what to tell my clients. I emphasized that I would only advise Mr. Elizondo to tell the truth within the limits of his executive branch permissions. Notably, Representative Luna has now spoken publicly about subpoenaing Mr. Elizondo, forcing this unfortunate circumstance.
See, yeah, and that's the other point. I don't really have it pulled up. I remember this is happening all in the cloud of this. I mean, you know, we got to hit the Luna one if we're talking about it or why not.
I've reached out to some of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? They all got SCIF flu, and we call it SCIF flu, meaning like the day that the SCIF was open, that we reserved it. We're like, we're here. Like, come on, come brief us. They get sick or their dog dies.
After several visits to D.C. at the request of members of Congress at my own expense, we were given cancellations at the last minute. After coming back home again, I made it clear the last time that I had a pre-existing commitment. I was given 3 days notice and no guarantees while having committed to speaking in Oregon publicly available. Luna knows the truth and we have the emails to prove it. I will chalk this up to her not being informed by her staff and an innocent mistake, I hope. Otherwise, let this be a lesson to future whistleblowers who want congressional protections. This is all about media attention and less about truth. I hope this is not the case, and I suspect Chris Mellon and others at UAPDF that know the truth may have more to say about this.
I've reached out to some of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? And they all got SCIF flu, and we call it SCIF flu, meaning like the day that the SCIF was open, that we reserved it. We're like, we're here. Like, come on, come brief us. They get sick or their dog dies. And they didn't recover and come back? They didn't recover, and then they just don't talk to us anymore. So
they ghost you?
They ghost us. Yeah, so I'm like, well, if you're not going to tell me to SCIF, then you're full of crap.
Or you're scared for your life because you're just a scientist who doesn't, maybe they got threatened. Maybe someone let them know that maybe someone hung something on their door in the middle of the night.
But if people say they're...
All right, so this is, mind you, in all the hoopla of that, this is what Luna said after all the like back and forth with Lou. I just talked to Comer regarding issuing subpoenas for certain individuals that developed SCIF flu. Sorry. Or had other things come up when asked to divulge information, all caps, to Congress. What I love about this job is fleshing out the truth tellers from those that are trying to sell bugs and potentially being disingenuous in an effort to undermine our investigations. See you in the SCIF. Right, so we got Grusch and Luna all of a sudden threatening to subpoena Lou. I just think that's an interesting data point. Like I said, the person who made a documentary about Lou had people show up at his mom's house. What do you think is going to happen to the person threatening to subpoena Lou?
And then when you realize that a lot of these witnesses, look, we had tried to get another hearing with the task force before this one, and every single witness we had reached out to said that they didn't want to testify because they were scared for their life. And these were not people that you see in the media. These were not, podcasters or anyone who's made a career talking about it. These were legitimate, former military and or military contractors, and they were literally afraid of being killed. And then you had David Grusch tell us directly that he was actually felt in fear of his life and some things, weird things.
So yeah, all this talk about people being threatened, people being threatened to be killed and all that, that's kind of like the new news of the day, that this just happened yesterday. But let's watch this too. This is recent.
On Monday.
This is from the recent infamous Tupa stream. That just happened. So they're talking about, Burleson's about to be talking about an event that happened in April. Although this discussion happened about a month ago. Grusch, to me, sounds like he might have got Havana. I'm going to go to the restroom while this plays, but yeah. Let's see.
Grusch flies in. He and I have a meeting with AARO. Waiting for Tulsi's office to approve that. So that's kind of waiting out there, right? We get to the April week. On Monday, Grusch flies in. He and I have a meeting with AARO, a very productive meeting. And I will say, at that meeting, it became abundantly clear that I'd made the right decision, because AARO was not as informed as Grusch is on this entire topic. In fact, they were picking Grusch's brain. When you're in a room and they're literally like turning all attention to him and trying to pull information out of him, it became clear that, the person that really knows what's going on. And he was giving them advice on what to do, where to go, where to look, who to talk to, all of those things. But we left that meeting, and I'm his employer, so I'm going to be very cautious as to what I'm going to say here. He immediately had some health issues and felt like he needed to fly home to see his doctor. And I'm going to leave it at that. He's kind of alluded to some of these health issues, but they are work related. And it was truly an emergency. He had to go home, which left.
So weird. What do you guys think that was about? That happened. So we got an event yesterday with Grusch. Apparently, we had an event a few months ago with Grusch. What do I have here next? This one hopefully will be really quick. Probably, hopefully. Okay. Now we're going to go back to 2023 and some of the stuff we heard happening around them. I think we'll start with Eric Davis, the man, the myth, the legend himself, while we can enjoy
what happened to Dave.
Because, word on the street is he may or may not be being blackmailed. Elaborate on the Eric Davis and Hal Pudov stuff, that they're being blackmailed and threatened.
Yes, and that's all I can say about that, because I don't want the specifics to get narrowed down to the type of people that I'm working with. Like I said, if it ends up coming out, aside from me saying...
So enjoy Eric Davis while we can. Let's hear what Eric Davis said happened to Grusch back in the day.
Grusch, after he filed his whistleblower complaint, it was before he ever testified.
Right.
What happened to Dave Grusch is he got harassed and intimidated, both him and his wife. He got harassed by someone in the National Reconnaissance Office, and then he got physically harassed at his home and in his vehicles by people unknown.
I never heard anyone say people from the NRO were the ones doing the harassing to Grusch. So that's kind of interesting little data point. Where is that coming from?
And then somebody leaked a PTSD episode he had, because remember, he's a war veteran.
Yeah.
And he was in the combat.
I got a stream coming up on this. Everything's telling me it was the Lou crew who did that, but we'll continue.
And he suffered PTSD and was going through a crisis with his wife. When somebody decides they're going to illegally go into his private medical files, violate the HIPAA law, and release that to the news media so that they can attack his character.
And there are a lot more lawyers at this point on your side, on the UAP Disclosure Fund and a number of other organizations have spun up to offer pro bono legal support to whistleblowers and people being harassed. Do you feel
shout out Missile Man
any better than? Do you feel like it's safer now than it was when Dave came out?
Possibly, I think so.
Yeah.
I just have to have a lawyer tell me, look at the situation, look at the circumstances under which.
See, I'm just gonna play the beginning part again. What did we get? We got harassment at his home, breaking into his thing. Let's see.
What happened to Dave Grusch after he filed his whistleblower complaint? It was before he ever testified.
Right.
What happened to Dave Grusch is he got harassed and intimidated, both him and his wife. He got harassed by someone in the National Reconnaissance Office, and then he got physically harassed at his home and in his vehicles by people unknown. And then somebody leaked a PTSD episode he had, because remember, he's a war veteran.
Luker did that, yes. And this is the infamous Salad interview. We got all our memes ready to go today, baby.
A bit controversial because on your side, on the UAP Disclosure Fund, and there's not much slam dunk testimony.
I'm gonna have to find a better song though, because that one's copyrighted that we could do over that. But that's it's interesting, Grusch. We're gonna do a little bit walking back now to 2023 again. We're going to hear Leslie Keane talk about our dear friend Sawan and some of the other conversations happening around the time with the rollout. And then I'm going to play the clip from Disclosure Tonight where they say more stuff that's happening around that time. And then we're pretty much done. I may or may not add a little more to it at the end. We'll see.
Threatening phone calls from whom, of what sort?
Back in 2023, this is Leslie Keane. We're going to hear from Ralph Blumenthal and then John Greenwald. Just discussions right around, because initially this was supposed to come out in the Washington Post, but Lou Elizondo's friends and media assets all leaked this dude's name and basically forced it to come out in the debrief. Again, I'll explain it in depth in a stream, probably on my main channel. That one will be, because that's a big old investigation.
He didn't even know who they were from. He doesn't answer them. There were also hostile actors out in the UFO community who were calling him, and there's a nasty Twitterverse out there. I don't know if you don't know about it, Ezra, you're lucky, because there's just it's a very contentious arena out there of people who are involved with this topic, and they will sometimes try to cause harm to people like Grusch. And so I think it was a legitimate concern when things start to leak. You don't even
Threatening phone calls from whom, of what?
Are you aware of how the leaks got out there and David's name got out there on Twitter?
No, we don't. But Grusch's name did emerge on the internet, which was very damaging because we weren't ready yet to put out the story. I mean, it was all nailed down as far as we were concerned. And Martin, let me emphasize.
Threatening phone calls from.
Yeah, I'll start right there for there, but let's see. Ocean says, what happened to David Grusch? I'll just go back and review just in case people are hopping in here late.
That he was actually, felt in fear of his life, and weird things had happened prior to that first hearing. And then I would encourage all of you to actually reach out to him, because even just yesterday, I actually went into the SCIF with David Grusch and Eric Burleson. And prior to that SCIF meeting happening, there was something really bizarre that took place with David Grusch, and it's being handled at the law enforcement level. But, things like that happening.
Great point, Matt Savage. Just what I'm saying, am I the schizo one for pointing these things out? Weird that this is happening to Grusch straight after Lou's lawyer was being horrible towards Grusch. Yup. And right after Grusch, apparently word on the street is that Grusch is threatening to subpoena him. In case you guys got here late, what I was saying was, our dear friend Manny made a documentary about Lou. Someone shows up to his mom's house. His girlfriend, who's not involved in the subject, starts getting harassed. What do you think's going to happen to the dude subpoenaing Lou, right? I put out a video of Richard Doty speaking about Lou. Had all this weird shit happen to me. People threatening to come kill me. What do you think's going to happen to someone subpoenaing Lou? I'm just saying, that's a great point, Matt Savage. I'm glad I'm not the only one noticing that.
Are not normal, especially being that David Grusch is currently Eric Burleson's congressional staffer. And so you're seeing a lot of stuff now flush out. And what I can tell you is we are trying to actively push to release the information that we've seen to the American people.
Yeah, Bosun says Manny's documentary is pretty shit. I like it, but I also do really enjoy Manny. But it could be edited differently. But I think that documentary is so important because the reaction to it just says so much about the state of the media landscape here and information flow. But yeah. All right, and I think, what are we going to do next here? I think I got some... So we got Disclosure Tonight.
No,
Now, this is super edited and cut up, and I'm going to be talking over it. We'll see. They're probably still going to try and copyright strike us. But after Sawan, the former host of their show, went on and said that he was told to oust Grusch. Let's see. I think
that he was
threatening phone calls.
And so I think it was a legitimate concern when things start to leak. You don't even know how this information is getting out. You don't even know how this information is getting out.
And I got a question for Swan. Why did you go against Grusch early on before he went public? Someone told you that he was a disinfo agent. Who told you he was a disinfo agent?
First of all, then that's why I stopped following Mike, because Mike tried to put me on to I was Grusch because Grusch
Not
didn't
me,
come
Mike.
Mike
Okay,
is
which Mike? Which Mike are you talking about, Swan? Then I get all cringe trying to convert a motherfucker. All right, so yeah, let's see.
He was.
So here's that show. I edited it up. The audio. I overlaid a video of Grusch. You can't even see them. Audio. I'm shouting them out. Fair use. Blah 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 blah.
One out there before, which has been brought up recently, going ahead and saying that you had doxed him, which is not the case. And I actually have something written up here, a statement that I'm going to read that I don't think anyone's ever heard this story.
Hear the disclosure from my perspective, everything that happened. Because here's the thing: you always hear people talk about, oh, all this horrible shit's happening to Grusch, blah blah blah. All this horrible shit's happening. It's kind of hard. I want to know more specifics. So basically, what this stream is I went around. We got the Eric Davis one. We got this one, where it gets a little more specific than just the broad, like, oh, shit was happening to him. So who knows if this is true or not? We'll see. But this is disclosure tonight's response to Swan saying that. We do learn some things.
Completely, but fuck it at this point. What do we have to lose, right? Exactly. Right. So let me let's burn the house down, my friend. Turning back the clock of disclosure several years. In one of many video conferences with Lou Elizondo, Rob Heatherly, and myself, we were introduced to David Grusch.
I wonder how often those video conferences are happening. This is a little side. This is more on the disclosure tonight narrative discussion, but that is interesting, huh?
At a time when both Lou and David were both working for Space Force. And I believe it was in Crystal Springs, Colorado.
Right.
David was presented to us as a friend of Lou's, a good guy, and like an asset for the UFO disclosure movement. At that time,
not only that, he was supposed to be working with you in Skyfort, right?
Where I was going to be working with Lou in Skyfort.
Also, by the way, disclosure tonight, if you guys want to try some shit, which I don't recommend you do. Like I said, this is edited, blah, blah, blah. A lot of your streams have used clips that I've clipped out from spaces and whatnot. So it's a two-way street.
At that time, but things that happened, things that blown up, that went away. This is just a separate conversation. So let's just get on with it. So at that time, things that happened around David's house, drones were seen, and things happened.
I never heard anyone say drones were seen around his house, so that was an interesting data point. Especially if you go on my main channel and go 2 episodes ago where we go through all the various like kind of weird drone shit that happens with people around Lou. Just saying.
That he was fearing for the safety of him and his wife. Now, after that drone that I mentioned had been seen surveying his house, within days, his house was actually broken into, and a threatening note was left in an obvious location, threatening his family's safety. After a sweep of the residence, it uncovered covert bugs.
I've heard other people with big channels, we'll just put it that way, I don't think they're public with it, but have very similar stories of that, like notes with certain words on it left after interacting with certain goatee counter-intel people.
And the listening devices that were also placed in his place at that time, maybe sooner. There was also concern about information regarding David.
Okay, here's just another little data point. I'm just going to analyze it. We're doing commentary. Listen to this.
And a threatening note was left in an obvious location, threatening his family's safety. After a sweep of the residence, it uncovered covert bugs and listening devices that were also placed in his place at that time.
See, this to me gives me the vibe of like street theater type stuff. Like they wanted Grusch to find the listening devices because if somebody really just wanted to listen to what Grusch was saying, they wouldn't have done the big display of the letter and the broken window and all this. It's to me, it's like more like they wanted to just get in his head than actually listen to what he was saying. So that's just kind of, I think, an important data point when trying to parse like who was doing this weird stuff to him.
Maybe sooner. There was also concern about information regarding David's whistleblower activities might be linked to the public, and Rob and I were asked to keep watch for any mention of his name on social media, YouTube, and report back because
Rob Heatherly and Thomas Fessler, dream team.
A lot of things were in play. Just to be clear, no information about what he was whistleblowing was ever disclosed to Rob and I on the call. We knew a name, we knew where he worked, and that his well-being was in jeopardy, and so was his opportunity to go ahead and bring out the truth on disclosure. And that's actually the last time I personally spoke to David Grusch. Now, fast forward from that time about a year and a half, while reporting on a podcast from Jimmy Church that had Danny Sheehan on, Danny casually mentioned about a new whistleblower coming out by the name of David Grusch.
Right.
And
Danny Sheehan is a leaky boat.
this is during a show, and I heard it, and I was like, oh, no, that can't be. Danny did it again. Because if you remember earlier, Danny had actually, on a different podcast, he went out there and he disclosed that Lou was working for Space Force, which got Lou removed from Space Force. So Danny did it again, 2 times now. A moment later, a light bulb went off, I just said again, and I realized it took place. I immediately circled back to emails confirming David's name was indeed leaked, because I haven't talked to David for about a year and a half or so at that time, right?
Pause for commentary, and like I said, I'm trying to be cool with that channel, although I'm going to report that like one of their hosts did kind of dox Grusch and all that shit. They have more than 3 of their videos on their channel. I have my stuff on it, so just FYI. I think there's a little more about what happened to Grusch at this time. Let's see.
Right.
Dude was his name, and that was leaked by Danny. Now, during the podcast, I reached out via email to inform David of the leak and for him to prepare for the rough seas ahead, because his whistleblower status was now in the public. Now, after the show, talking with members of our viewer call-in panel, I discussed my shock and dismay of what Danny Sheehan had said. I mean, come on, he's Lou's lawyer disclosed privileged information to the public at large, potentially putting David and his wife in harm's way. Now, Swan Patel, who used to be part of the show, was furious, Mike, if you remember.
I do.
Because David...
All right, this is kind of a sidebar, because that's a whole obfuscated thing. Tupa in the chat, our lovely mod, Tupa. The details are murky about what happened to Grusch, because nothing happened to Grusch. He's making up stories for whatever reason, maybe to make people think he's more important than he is. Maybe. That's why I said, like, not to be like all like, me and Tupa are the eternal victims, but a lot of this hate group stuff, there's very clear documented like stuff or like very specifics of like what's happening to people. And when it comes to like a lot of this stuff up here, it's so vague. And I feel like if it was it's in their safety to like be very public about what's happening to them. So I don't know. Kind of to that point too. Here we got this.
There's an individual who
got 3 more. Fuck it. We'll make it the Lou show. Do I even have a Lou GIF? I don't even think I have a Lou thing. Here we go.
An altitude of 21,000 feet. I eventually sue somebody. I got to figure out, who's really worth it and who can I make a statement with, and who will people look at and say, wow, that was a hell of a lesson that was taught. I'm not going to do anything illegal or that hurts national security.
That's a real quote, by the way. That's not AI. If I'm going to sue someone, I got to make a statement. I mean, people go like, wow, that was a hell of a lesson. I love the way his brain thinks. It's so funny. But here's where he was telling Corbell about some alleged threats. And this whole thing I just found super sus. And we're going to turn up the music on this one because I think word on the street is TMZ might be super activated about this. And we're fair use, we're commenting, blah, 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 blah. Put on a funny song too.
does some research for us, former military guy. There's an individual who does some research for us, former military guy, highly intelligent, a great investigator.
I think it's Disclosure Mike or King Milford that he's talking about there.
And he reached out to me and said, hey, listen, you may want to let your friend Corbell know something, because I've come across some information that's very disturbing. And he says, look.
See, this is already pretty sus. We're inside bombshells. This conversation's happening. Lou already looks sus. Look at him. Does this look like an honest man? Or does this look like a motherfucker that's lying to you right now? I'm just saying, I don't know.
There's a credible threat against Jeremy Corbell.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me some information. I looked at it and said, okay, you know what? Yeah, that looks legit.
What do you guys think? Is Lou bullshitting Corbell right now, or was there actually a threat? Listen, he says some more stuff here where I'm like, okay, I kind of think it's you maybe?
I wouldn't take any unnecessary chances if I were you right now, because you've got bullseye on you. This was somebody.
Why is this happening on TMZ?
Who actually had real means and capability to do something. And they knew who you were and where you live, and it's somebody who potentially intends to do real harm to you.
Okay, so here's where I was like, what the fuck? How would Lou and crew and King Milford and Mike Disclosure know that they have the means and capability to do it? They know where you live. That's like a lot of information to have about someone. To me, it makes it feel like Lou's either part of it or he's just BSing. Let's see what Matt says. Grusch isn't making stuff up. He clearly doesn't like or even want this spotlight. That's a bad kid. He says Papa Lou gave the UFO community its very own daddy issues. It really did. There's so many people like fucked up because of this dude right here. Like look at Lou reviews, like permanently fucked up like his life because of this guy. I mean, I think even to a degree, me and Tuba, right? We're not the same people we were. Matt Savage says Grusch doesn't like the spotlight. He's making up that silly theory. Mr. Cooper says Lou is probably BSing him, bro. Lou is tied in. Yeah, I get the vibe that Lou's either BSing him or. Because this is kind of like, you know, this reminds me of the Matt Ford story. Remember when the Matt Ford story at the hotel where Lou's like, oh, you're probably going to get honeypotted, bro. And then that evening, there's like this weird street theater thing that happens to Matt Ford. I get the same vibe. Same exact vibe.
You and your family and has a means to do it, right? When you're a public figure, it's understandable that at some point, somebody out there, whether they're a super fan
or just a crazy person.
Yeah, you got somebody there who just, for whatever reason, is obsessed with you, you know, people in public life.
So yeah, you know, fuck it, I'm feeling a little energy. I have 2 more slides. We'll have a little more fun together. What do we got?
Of perception, man.
So here's just another like Lou and his threat, the threatening life around Lou, and you know, I mean, here we go. This is a year ago now. Let's see, Matt Ford, friend of the show.
Now, quote, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I'm not suicidal. I'm not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members, in the future, you will know what happened.
Let's run that back one more time while I try and get this meme up here from Matt Ford.
Of perception management. Now, quote, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I'm not suicidal. I'm not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities.
So take note of this because we're going to hear from Danny Sheehan after where he says like this is all kind of bullshit. Take note of the stuff that like Lou's trying to get ahead of. Very interesting.
Of perception management. Now, quote, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I'm not suicidal. I'm not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members, in the future, you will know what.
Really weird. And, you know, I got the meme up here. We got Matt Ford, Hero Disclosure, got his own meme now, too.
Bangkok has him now, and she'll never let him go.
You are either willfully ignorant or woefully corrupt. Remember, you work for us, not the defense contractors. And if you continue down this path...
All right, so there's Matt Ford reading a statement from Lou. What happened, though, when we asked Danny Sheehan about this? We'll play this, and then this is the last thing. And Interspec says, friend of the show, Interspec says, Amy said they're evil. She did. Amy Eskridge did say they are evil. Danny, I was wondering if you could elaborate or if you have any more information about these that we're hearing about recently. I know we shout out Skyfire News. But like, shout out Skyfire News. Oh, what's a tuba? Should we hit that one real quick too? Let's hit that real quick.
I don't know anyone called Big Homie. Tupa. I don't know who Tupa is. Is he a rapper or something? I'm sorry, I've just got no idea what that's about. I have no.
LOL. All right, here we go. What's happened that triggered this tweet from Lou, or do you guys have any suspicion of like who's the group behind these alleged threats, more specifically than just like the gatekeepers kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't believe that the. I've got to be careful about this. You know, it's true that there are all kinds of people, you know, saying bad things about Lou. and they say bad things about Chris Mellon, and they say bad things about other people who they view to be whistleblowers because they're hostile skeptics about the whole issue. But that doesn't really amount to significant threats. There are people who do other things that, for example, there's some complete, cloaca, who has filed a criminal charge against Lou with the SEC. It's a totally contrived bullshit charge of saying that this person apparently went out and bought a single share of stock in the book publishing company that's going to be publishing Lou's book. And then he's filed a criminal complaint with the SEC against Lou for alleging that he's engaging in fraud and defrauding the stockholders of the book publishing company. Is such a complete, bullshit.
Real quick, too, in case you haven't seen it yet, too, we added this one to the thing. You can elaborate on the Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff stuff, that they're being blackmailed and threatened.
Yes, and that's all I can say about that because I don't want the specifics to get narrowed down to the type of people that I'm working with. Like I said, if it ends up coming out, aside from me saying...
We're enjoying the Eric Davis memes while we can, just in case.
Position, but it's irritating and it's aggravating, and it's a form of kind of harassment on the part of this kind of ardent skeptic. But that's not the kind of thing that we're talking about in the recent event. What's happened is that a person who is knowledgeable about the program, that is the crash retrieval program and the back engineering program, was found dead, and the police believed that it was a suicide, but some of the people said, well, look, you shouldn't be hasty in coming to your conclusion that it's a suicide, because he was in possession of important information that he may have been open to revealing publicly, and therefore you should not precipitously close the investigation, just deeming it to be a suicide. You should have a homicide investigation preliminarily, and that all started to skyrocket from there. It's like that you've probably heard that the people that are pro-Trump people have, through the Freedom of Information Act, gotten a copy of the search warrant for Mar-a-Lago, and that they saw that there was a provision in there authorizing the use of deadly force if necessary, which is part of a boilerplate warrant form. That's a problem in and of itself. That's a provision that's in virtually every federal warrant. But what they did is they seized upon that, saying, "Oh, look, the warrant that was issued to search Mar-a-Lago is had an authorization to use lethal force if necessary. Oh, what would have happened if Trump himself were present when they executed the warrant?" Which he was not, and which the Justice Department had gone to great lengths to make sure that he wasn't there when they exercised the warrant. But say, well, what would have happened if he had been there and he'd resisted? Does that mean that they would have used lethal force against him? And then that ballooned into, there was a plot to potentially kill Donald Trump that was instigated by President Biden. And then it went on to that this was an assassination plan on the part of Biden. Again, and this happened. It just balloons and it snowballs into these kind of brain farts, that people engage in. And
so he's about to get to the point. He had to do 10 hours of cushioning before he's about to call Elizondo a liar just to save his own ass, basically.
The point is that some people started doing that with regard to this thing of this event that took place last week. That this person was found dead, and that there was a preliminary assumption that it was a suicide, an unfortunate and tragic event. But because there was a request to keep open the potential that it might have been a homicide, given the sophistication of some of the means that they have at their disposal to do that, and then that word leaked out, and somebody then assumed that there was a homicide that had been committed. And then it ballooned out into saying, oh, if homicides are being committed against people who have UAP information, this constitutes a horrendously dangerous situation. And then it was probably not a good idea to go forward and say, to announce that that Lou had no intention of committing suicide, and he was not engaged in any kind of activities that constituted a threat of any kind of fatal injuries to him.
Let's remind ourselves what Matt Ford had to do.
Of perception management. Now, quote, to add insult to injury, I was notified yesterday that there may be a personal threat against myself and several other whistleblowers formerly associated with the UAP effort for the U.S. government. As such, I would like to make this perfectly clear to the American people. I am not prone to accidents. I'm not suicidal. I'm not abusing drugs. I am not engaged in any illicit activities. If something happens to me or my family members, of my family members in the future, you will know what.
Danny, I was wondering if you could.
No, he had.
Hold on.
That he was actually.
Darn it, I have to pull this up real quick because it's like hard to. So sorry. Okay, there we go. Danny, I was wondering if you could, like right here,
that people engage in. And the point is that some people started doing that with regard to this thing of this event that took place last week, that this person was found dead, and that there was a preliminary assumption that it was a suicide, an unfortunate and tragic event. But because there was a request to keep open the potential that it might have been a homicide, given the sophistication of some of the means that they have at their disposal to do that. And then that word leaked out, and somebody then assumed that there was a homicide that had been committed. And then it ballooned out into saying, oh, if homicides are being committed against people who have UAP information, this constitutes a horrendously dangerous situation. And then it was probably not a good idea to go forward and say, to announce that that Lou had no intention of committing suicide, and he was not engaged in any kind of activities that constituted a threat of any kind of fatal injuries to him, etc. And that was probably a less than carefully thought through step to be taken, because it fostered and fed into the kind of maelstrom that began to develop around that. But that's not appropriate. There is,
in case it's hard to follow, Lou Elizondo lawyer at the time said that Lou basically jumped the gun and that like he wasn't really under threat, and that was kind of a far-fetched thing. But yeah, I think I'm gonna close it out there. So it's nice and short, 40 minutes. Fuck it. Maybe I'll do another one later today. I really want to cover the mystery drones over Jersey, the updates on that one Coast Guard thing, but we'll see. Everyone have a good one. Peace out. God bless.